This is Olivia Green interviewing Jordan D. Brown for the HBCU Radio Preservation Project. It's currently 12:09 on September 8th, 2024, and this interview is being recorded remotely. I'm located in Brooklyn, New York, and Jordan is in Atlanta. Okay, so before we get started, can you just state your full name for the record and tell me about what your relationship is to WEAA?
Yes, so my name is Jordan D. Brown, and I am a former contributor of the Morgan News Hour at WEAA at Morgan State University.
Awesome. And can you tell me when and where you were born?
Yes, so I was born June 16th, 2001 in Silver Spring, Maryland, just outside of Prince George's County, where I was born and raised my whole life before going to Morgan. And yeah.
Awesome. Tell me about the people that raised you. Who was in your house?
Yes, so I was raised by my two parents, Bill and Wanda Brown, both HBCU graduates. They both met and graduated from Virginia State University, graduated in 1984 and 85. And I'm the youngest child, so they had me last, but they have four children in total. My oldest sister, Shauna, she's 34, turning 35 this year. She also graduated from Virginia State. My sister Taylor is 31. My brother Jonathan is 25. He graduated from Morehouse. And then you have me, 24, confusing everyone's ages. I'm sorry, I'm not used to everyone getting older, but I'm 24, graduated from Morgan State. So HBCU household for sure. My sister Taylor, she started at Georgetown and then transferred to George Mason, but she played collegiate basketball. So.
Okay, got
Mhm.
it. And is your family kind of originally from Maryland? Are your
Oh no,
parents from
so
Maryland too?
yeah, so my mom, she's from Baltimore. So not too far, just about an hour away. Morgan's in East Baltimore, my mom's from West Baltimore, so definitely like clashed a little bit there. But so my mom, I have a lot of roots there, and my dad's from Petersburg, Virginia, which is where Virginia State is from. And he bounced around a little bit like growing up, but Petersburg has always been like home for him. So yeah, Maryland and Virginia is like where most of my family is.
Cool. And tell me what your parents do for work.
So both my parents actually just retired this past May. They both worked for the federal government, and like as we've seen everything going on there, like a lot of job cuts. So they both just made the tough decision to retire this past May, which was, I think well earned. They both worked like over, I think my mom was about to hit 20 years, but they both did like over 40 years of work. So it was well deserved.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to get a sense of Jordan as a kid. So if we're like in the opening scene of your life, right?
hmm
We're walking in, you're in your parents' house, the youngest of four. Tell me a little bit about like what's going on. Like what are you doing? What are you listening to?
hmm
What's consuming you as a kid?
So if you ask literally anybody in my family, they'll say like I'm the most talkative child of the four. Like I never stopped talking. I literally went home last weekend for the first time since I moved down to Atlanta. And I could hear my parents in the background, like as I was talking to my siblings, they were like, she hasn't shut up since she's got home. Like she's just been talking this entire time. So I was definitely the talker. My parents like always make it a point to say I was the first one to talk, but I was the last person to like take my first steps to walk. Because since I was the baby, like they say, everybody always carried me around and everything, but I would just talk all the time. I started talking at 8 months, which they
Wow.
say. So I don't know if that's true, but everyone says it. So I would say like if you had to paint what my childhood was like, I was definitely the talker. Even though I think that my brother and I are really close as well. Like my brother's just 20 months older than me, so we've always been close. He was just a year ahead of me in school. But I would say that he's pretty talkative too, if you give him the chance to talk. But my mom will push back and be like, "Well, Jordan, you're always talking. He doesn't have the chance to talk." So they say I'm really talkative, and I think either talking or like writing, telling stories somehow. Like at my elementary school, we had these write a book competitions where like every year we would have to like make up like a 10-page book or something about anything. And I think that was the first time I really started writing stories outside of just like class assignments and things like that. So my dad's always kept like the crazy stories that I would write and we'll bring them back up and be like, remember when you wrote this? And yeah.
So did you always kind of know that you wanted to be a writer or work in storytelling?
I would say yes and no. Like I always knew that writing was something that I enjoyed, but I didn't really think of it as something that I could pursue as a career, I think until I got to like my senior year of high school, freshman year of college. Like when I was growing up, my family's also a very heavy like basketball family. We all played basketball growing up. So I thought like I wanted to be like my sister. I wanted to play basketball through high school and college. And she ended up playing overseas as well. So that was kind of like the dream, but I wasn't that good. And I learned very quickly in high school, like this wasn't in the cards for me. So I stopped playing after my freshman year and was trying to figure out like what other interests I had, other passions. And that's when I picked up photography through my dad. So I think that's how I sort of got back into storytelling outside of just like writing. Getting into like taking pictures at school, like sports photography or like just pictures with my friends. And from there, that was my sophomore year of high school. And then the next year, I joined the student newspaper at my high school my junior year and stuck through that junior and senior year and decided to go to Morgan for multimedia journalism.
Hmm. I know you talked about basketball and the school newspaper and stuff like that, but were there any other kind of like community institutions that you and your family were a part of? Like, were you part of a church or any kind of like social clubs, that kind of thing?
Not really. We weren't I think basketball was really like the biggest thing. Like our lives kind of revolved around it. I think looking back, my parents probably do wish like we did something a little more outside of it. But we were active. Like my mom was active in the PTA at our schools, and me and Jonathan, we did student council a few years. So I think we were very heavy like in basketball in school.
And do you have like a memory or any connection to radio that comes from your family? Like, do you remember, or like, were y'all listening to the radio at home in the car?
I feel like this is probably an experience like a lot of people have, but like you wake up early morning on a Sunday, there's music playing all throughout the house, and that was kind of like your signal that you guys were going to be cleaning up for the weekend. So I think that would probably be like my biggest like childhood memory of radio, just always hearing like my dad would play it throughout speakers throughout the house or always in the car and he would get like mixed CDs that we would play like in the backyard all the time. So there was always some type of like radio or music playing.
And what kind of music were you guys listening to?
Oh, my dad's favorite rapper is Jay-Z, so we were always like very big on like Jay-Z or like hip hop, R&B. For my mom, it was probably like Luther Vandross. That's her favorite artist. So just like a good mix of like, Black music.
Um, I want to talk a little bit about your decision to go to Morgan State and how
Hmm.
that comes about. So, you're interested in media and doing that kind of thing. You have legacy at Virginia State.
Hmm.
What makes you like, what schools are you thinking about and why do you end up choosing Morgan?
Yeah, so actually, I never realized until my junior year of college that I'd only applied to HBCUs. Like it was never really a big thing in my head like oh I have to go to HBCUs. I'm not even looking at PWIs. Those were just the schools that I gravitated towards and where I felt like I could see myself going. And it wasn't until my junior year when I was at Morgan, one of my journalism professors actually was asking me like why didn't I consider the University of Maryland, or like why didn't I consider any other PWIs? Like I didn't apply to Towson, and there's a lot of good talent going to HBCUs now. I was like, I never even really thought of it like that. I guess just because that's how I was brought up, like in like HBCU culture and history. That's where I wanted to be. So, it was my junior year. I went to the open house at Morgan State, and that's where I first learned about their student newspaper, the spokesman, the TV station there, Bear TV, and the radio station WEAA. And I just really I really envisioned myself being there, like contributing to the newspaper, and also like I've never been 100% with broadcast and wanting to be in front of the TV, but I wanted to like get that experience and see what that would be like. So, I ended up my last three schools that I was deciding between were Morgan, Spelman, and Hampton. And at the time, Spelman didn't have like a designated journalism program. So it was like I definitely would have been able to take journalism classes and like contribute to their newspaper that they just like recently started back up, and also the Maroon Tiger at Morehouse. But one, I wasn't ready to be that far away from home. I was not ready. My brother was down in Atlanta, so I was like, that would be a huge perk of like me being there. He would be at Morehouse, but I wanted to like make that decision for myself and like not be like completely reliant on going somewhere because my brother was there. And another factor that contributed to my decision was the scholarship that I received from Morgan, which definitely like helped me a lot throughout my time there. And also like it was close to home. I really saw myself in the journalism program thriving there, and like the Baltimore connections that I had with my mom being from there. My uncle lived literally 5 minutes from campus, so I could go to his house whenever. He could pick me up, get like a home cooked meal. And also I had a lot of friends that like stayed in the area, either went to Morgan or went to Towson, which is like 15 minutes away. So I felt like Morgan was the right place for me, like at that period of my life when I was 18 years old, and also like just seeing myself being able to excel.
Yeah. So you start school in 2019, right?
Hmm.
Okay. Um, Move-in day, you get there, it's real.
Hmm.
What are you feeling?
Moving day, I had seen my three older siblings. I had seen their moving days. I see their freshman years and how everything like played out. So when it was finally my turn, it was really like surreal because I had just never, I'd always seen it be everybody else's turn. So when it was my turn, like it didn't really feel real. It was definitely, I think the first day I was excited. I was excited to like take on this new chapter, but it was really scary, honestly, because I was like, yes, there were people that I knew, but this was like a whole new world. Like I wouldn't have my parents there every day to help me like just help me with things. I didn't have my brother like right down the hall anymore. So it was difficult, but I think it was after um after maybe like the first 3 months of the semester, when I finally kind of like got into the groove of like classes and everything, and like trying to join student organizations where I felt like a lot more comfortable than I did those first few weeks of school. But that moving day, it was a lot of feelings. Like I was scared, but I was also excited. I was sad to leave my family, but also like happy to start college, meet new people.
Yeah. And so for somebody that doesn't know Baltimore or is not familiar with Morgan,
Mhm.
can you talk a little bit about like the campus culture and
Yeah.
what that was like when you got there?
Yeah, so well, Morgan 2025 is completely different than Morgan 2019. I mean, the
And
campus, mhm,
we're gonna get there, but I want to hear what it was
yeah.
like when
Yeah, like the campus was beautiful in 2019 already, but like now it's just like 10 times more like the development has been like amazing to see. But back then 2019, so Morgan's location is basically like right in the middle of East Baltimore. So like we're our campus is kind of it's I want to compare it to Howard, but I think Howard has like more of like a campus feel, if that makes sense. Like Morgan, especially when I was there my freshman year, our on-campus housing was mostly like dedicated to freshmen because that was all that there was the capacity for. And then after your freshman year, you have housing off campus, which would be like Morgan View Apartments, Marble Hall, um, which would only be like 5, 10 minutes away from campus. But the that campus feeling was like really mostly for freshmen back in 2019, I would say. And which was great, like for the freshmen, obviously, because like, you were able to go to the refac, which is what we called our cafeteria, and just like be able to chill on campus, hang outside, like right before you go to class and things like that. But yeah, that I think that gives like a good sense. Like we're in the city, but we still have our own like designated area, open campus as well. But yeah.
And what kinds of things do you remember students talking about, like in 2019 when you're a freshman? Like, what issues are important to people on campus?
Hmm. I think
Institutionally, politically? Yeah.
I think definitely 2019. So 2019 politically, like we were gearing up like for the 2020 election. So I know like there were a lot of conversations of who the primary candidate was going to be, what that election could look like, especially under President Trump's first term and like what we would like to see differently. And also, I like that my freshman year being 2019, I think that those conversations really took off like in the next year with 2020, like the pandemic and all the Black Lives Matter protests. So I don't think I think the conversations were definitely stronger my sophomore year when we were like at home. I think conversations were a lot stronger like online. But aside from like politically, like just being college freshmen, like we were talking about who's going to do the homecoming concert, like who are you excited to see? What are you looking forward to for homecoming this year? And yeah, I'm trying to think back to 2019, like the music scene, Megan Thee Stallion was on top, City Girls. Um, I really liked Flo Milli back then. I know Flo Milli was kind of like, I think she got more popularity like 2023, but I first discovered her in 2019. I thought she was super cool. Uh, yeah, I think that's like was like the main things.
Who played at y'all's homecoming that year?
The Baby, Stun Up for Vegas. There was two other people I can't remember. I know Zan Man was there. I don't know if you know Zan Man.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah. That was funny. I can't remember the two other people. I know one was like a local Baltimore rapper. I can't remember the third person though, but I know the like in 2019 the baby was on top too. So it's like that
Yeah.
was that was a huge deal. I remember standing in line for that concert. That was crazy.
He played our homecoming that year too, I think.
I think he went on a whole like
Yeah.
HBCU homecoming tour. Like that, if you had the baby for your homecoming, that was a good homecoming that year. That was a good homecoming.
Nice. Um, okay. At what point do you get involved with the media outlets at Morgan State as a freshman?
Yes, that was my freshman year. So my first semester of freshman year, I tried joining the Spokesman and Bear TV, both, but my class schedule, the Spokesman met on Wednesdays and Bear TV met on Thursdays. And I had classes at the exact same times as the meetings. So I had like reached out to the director of Bear TV and the editor-in-chief of the Spokesman at the time, like letting them know, hey, I have class at this time, but I still want to contribute. But like that was just it was too difficult to like meet meeting times and everything. So I made sure like for my next semester to block off the times for um the Spokesman and Bear TV so I would be able to join second semester of freshman year, which is what I did. And I joined the Spokesman second semester freshman year. Bear TV, I didn't. I never officially joined Bear TV, but like I can get into that too, how like the spokesman kind of served as a contributor for both Bear TV and WEAA. But I joined the spokesman as a photographer and staff writer January of 2020. My first assignment was a mayoral forum that was hosted at Morgan State, and it was all of the candidates that were going to be running for mayor that year. And that was like my first introduction into like Baltimore politics. Like I was learning about Brandon Scott, who I think 2019, he was like 36 at the time. I think so. It's like this very young like politician like coming in trying to change the city of Baltimore like versus like a lot of seasoned politicians that we've already seen. So like being able to like capture that as like one of my first assignments was really cool. And from there, also back then, my freshman year, I was still trying to figure out like what kind of journalism I wanted to do, but most of my experience was sports photography at my high school. And I was like, okay, like maybe I could dip into like sports reporting journalism. I quickly learned that I did not want to be a sports I didn't want to be a sports like game by game like analytic reporter um because I had an assignment on that like my freshman year. It was literally like 2 weeks before COVID. Everything was so crazy that semester because like looking back because it's like, oh, this was like 2 weeks before COVID. This was the week before, like a month before. But I didn't get back to my dorm until like 1 o'clock in the morning, like after filing my story and turning in the pictures. And I was like, man, I don't know. I don't know. But no, I really enjoyed doing that. I think just like the thing about sports reporting, a professor told me like yes, you might like basketball and want to report on basketball, but to be a sports reporter, like you're gonna have to know how to cover hockey. Like you might have to know how to cover tennis. Like you can't expect to like get into the sport that you want off of your first like your first job or your first desire. And I wasn't exactly that committed with sports. Like basketball was kind of my go-to. And so yeah, that's I started venturing outside of sports with that one. But yeah, my second semester at Morgan was when I joined the spokesman and I was like really committed. I was pitching stories, I was getting assignments, and then COVID happened and everything just kind of like blew up. We went from having weekly meetings and like the digital newsroom to going on Zoom, and our attendance dropped like crazy. Like we went from having 25 people in the in-person meetings to like 8 people on Zooms, like and regularly contributing. So that was super hard. Also like my freshman year, like still being like so heavy into photography, I would honestly say when I first joined the spokesman, like I kind of saw myself more as a photographer than a writer at the time. So it was really hard to like navigate being able to go out and get these photos for stories to then we're no longer on campus. And like, yes, I was only an hour away from campus, so I could get up there if I really needed to, but everything was shut down.
Right.
So there was no like I had to kind of switch, not necessarily switch, but I had to shift more into like writing mode over photography. So
Yeah, tell me a little bit about how that feels to go from like being super involved, you're covering things in person, you're like going out on assignment and having all of
mhm.
these interactions, um, to being shut down, maybe reporting remotely,
Yeah,
um, and you're still like learning how to do this.
right.
So how does that
Right.
feel? Yeah.
Yeah, it was really hard. And also like at this point, it was just the second semester of my freshman year. I hadn't officially taken a journalism course yet, right?
Mm,
So I'm still like carrying stuff that like I did in high school, but there are a lot of things that I think I could have done better, could have done differently if I had like those classes under my belt. But it was hard because like you're conducting interviews over the phone. Like, yes, we were doing that beforehand, but it was a lot easier to just go up to somebody on campus in person than messaging them on Instagram or like trying to set up a Zoom with them. So that was really hard. And that went on for a year, like over a year, because we didn't go back to campus officially until August of 2021. So
Right.
that was a little over a year. And there was one really cool thing that did come out of like when COVID first happened, everything. Um, Honestly, like one of my favorite stories that I did at Morgan, like of all time, was um one of the Black Lives Matter protests that happened on Morgan's campus was hosted by some student organizers. And when I first saw the protest, I immediately was like, I want to cover it in some capacity, whether it's like me taking pictures, me going out and talking to people, like profiling the organizer behind it ahead of time to have like some human interaction for one, because we were on lockdown for 3 months at that point. And also, two, just like the severity of everything that was happening, like I said earlier, like where we were politically in 2020 with George Floyd dying and Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and I think all of the like just the unrest that people were dealing with COVID on top of that, people were very frustrated, angry, and wanted to express that through protests that we were seeing across the country. But this one was like going to be directly on Morgan's campus. And I remember the editor in chief, like she assigned for me to cover it, like both taking pictures and writing the story for it. And I took my brother with me, and we basically just like went out there. It was difficult to like navigate the restrictions of like COVID, like 6 feet, everything, while also like trying to get the story. But it was really just, I think it was really important for me to like be able to capture everything that was going on in that time by talking to people and also like getting pictures of what was going on. Like we I know you say you're not too familiar with Baltimore, but like East Cold Spring Lane is like the street that Morgan is on. And there's a bridge that goes across like two sides of campus essentially. And I remember we were walking, like me and my brother were walking on the sidewalk, and everybody else was in the street. Like we filled the entire roadway. And I remember saying to my brother, like, I feel like that would be a really cool shot, like up on top of the bridge. But if we're getting everybody like filling the street. So we literally like took off running. Mind you, it's June. It wasn't like blazing hot or anything, but it was at least like 85 degrees. We're running, get up to the top of the bridge. And like was getting the shots of all of these people just like feeling Cold Spring Lane. And I actually have a picture, like I can show you the picture too. I have a picture of it on my wall, and it has like Morgan's like one of their oldest buildings, Holmes Hall, and then the bridge that goes across to the main campus from the academic buildings. And it's just like filled with hundreds of protesters, like signs and everything. And that's honestly been one of my favorite stories that I've done because I feel like it really captured what 2020 was like. Like you see these
Mhm.
posters in honor of George Floyd while we're also wearing Black Lives Matter mask and like COVID mask and everything and talking about just like frustrations with the state of the country.
Yeah. So, what are you in this moment kind of after you filed that story? It's one that you continue to be proud of. Like, what do you learn about yourself as a person and as a journalist in that moment?
I think that was the story that kind of solidified for me. Like, this is what I want to do. I want to be able to like tell stories like this, tell important stories that document history in such a way that you can look back on it 5, 10, 15 years from now and be like, this is exactly how this moment felt. And like it being like fair, it being accurate, like exactly depicting what that moment was. And I think also for me, like being able to tell important like cultural and racial stories like that is really important to me because there's been so many stories like that that haven't been told or haven't been accurately told. So I think that it's really important for me to be able to like share those stories and amplify them when I have the opportunity to. And that was my first introduction into doing that.
Okay. So you get back to campus in August of 2021,
Mhm.
right? Are you living on campus
No, I'm
at
living
that
off
point?
campus. No,
Okay.
so so it was a very crazy shift. Like freshman year, living right on campus, like 20 steps from my academic buildings to then it was only like 10, 15 minutes off campus. But like I'm in a two-bedroom apartment with my best friend who I convinced to transfer to Morgan. It was just like one of the happiest decisions when she told me that she was going to transfer. But she was my roommate and we ended up living together for my last 2 years of college. But yeah, so my when we came back my junior year, I was living off campus.
Okay. Tell me how and at what point did you get involved with the radio station?
Yeah, so I got involved with the radio station. It was my junior year.
Okay.
And so some context about Morgan's journalism program. We have three majors, the multimedia journalism major, multi-platform production, and strategic communication. And I feel like a lot of the like our departments, we all wanted to be like intertwined and like working together because like where journalism was headed in that time and where journalism is now, you have to know how to do like all of those things. Like it can't just be separated into one major anymore. Like you might be in one major, but you need to know, like if you're a journalism major, you need to know how to do production. If you're a production major, you need to know how to write. Like all those things go together. So I think it was when we came back from COVID, my junior year. There was a new director of Bear TV, a new news director for WEAA, and we were trying to figure out like how to get the students to kind of like all collaborate and working together. So the news director of WEAA had like reached out to the spokesman about the news director of WEAA had reached out to the spokesman about having us contribute to their Morgan News Hour, which was like an hour, a daily like hour news segment where they would have a student reporter basically like lead the conversation, running down the news of the week on Morgan's campus, like national news, but mostly like campus news that would be related to students. And through that, we would either have a reporter, like a spokesman reporter, if we had a story, few stories that week, we would have the reporters go on the Morgan News Hour and give like a brief summary of what their story was about, what they took away from it, what the news was. And yeah, that was basically how we contributed to the Morgan News Hour. We would either sit down for like the roundtable conversations that they would have, or we would send reporters up to record like maybe a minute or two a segment about basically breaking down what their story was, and that would also like run on the Morgan News Hour as well.
And so talk to me about like what feels different about this medium in particular. Radio, the roundtable discussions versus print stories
Yeah.
or like multimedia stories.
hmm Yeah, I think they're definitely different. I think a round table is a lot different from a print story because like I think a round table is like more of having conversations like bouncing off of each other, but you still have to find a way to get across like the facts and the news of the information as you would in the print story. But I think you have to do it in more of like an attention grabbing way that will keep people's attention versus like keep people listening versus like when they're reading a story and they have like the words to kind of guide them along as they're reading. So I think it's definitely different, especially like recording those segments, like the minute segments for stories, because like when you're writing, you don't have to like juice yourself up to sound energetic and sound like get people to like really listen and stay engaged with you. I think that that's a lot different, even with broadcast too, like when you're in front of the camera. But I think it's different in the sense of like grabbing people's attention in a different way than how you would write something.
Yeah. And so are students listening to WEAA on campus?
Yeah, so I would say definitely not as much as we would like for them to. I think that that was definitely a challenge that we had, like even for reading the spokesman, getting like readership amongst students, trying to find a way to reach students. Because a lot of people, like when you get in your car, you might not turn on the local like campus radio station. You're plugging your phone to CarPlay and you're going to listen to the music on your playlist. So I think that that was different. A lot of the like people that I would hear that were listening would probably be like my uncle who lived like 5 minutes away from Oregon, or people that lived in the area. So definitely not as much like viewership and listening from students as we would want for there to be. I don't know how much it has grown since I left. I hope that it has. I'm sure that it has. But yeah.
You talk about like your uncle listening, and I'm sure that like there are other people in the community that are like tuning into public radio, right? Did you
hmm
ever get a sense of what the community impact of the station looked like?
Yeah, so WEAA was really great about like hosting food drives and hosting like clothing drives, things like that. Outside of Morgan's journalism building, finding ways to give back to the community, fundraising. There would be a fundraiser, I think like once a quarter. So I think WEAA had a really good impact on the community in terms of like giving back and like outside of just like keeping in touch with their shows, radio and like delivering news and music, but also just like finding ways to connect with the community through the events that they had.
I want to ask you about any mentors that you had in college.
hmm
Um, yeah, who were you looking up to at Morgan?
Yeah, so I would definitely say my professor that I had, I actually didn't have him until my fall semester of my senior year, but Professor Capano, he was the former head of the Department of Multi-Platform Production there at Morgan State. And he like very quickly turned into a great mentor that I had in my last year. He helped me with my grad school applications, like helping me write my essays and just helping me like try to figure out what it is that I wanted to do, the type of journalism I wanted to do. I took his African diaspora class my senior year, and it was a really transformative class, but also like being able to get to know him outside of that class and just what he wanted to offer me and my classmate Trey, who was the managing editor of the Spokesman with me at the time. So I would say Professor Capano was a really good mentor. Also, the dean of the journalism program at Morgan State, Jackie Jones, she was a great mentor since my freshman year, honestly. She really looked out for me and was sure to like feed any opportunities into me that she knew of and just like feed encouragement and was really supportive throughout my 4 years there. So I definitely appreciate Dean Jones for all that she did as well.
Dean Jones is so cool.
Yeah.
I really like her. She was like the mentor of my mentor in
Okay.
college.
Okay.
Because yeah, we visited like the project visited Morgan State in when were we there? In June.
hmm
And spent some time at the radio station and I got to like meet her in person for the first time. I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
great. She's really great. Yeah, she became the dean of the school my junior year. Literally everything changed junior year, like coming back from COVID. The previous dean, Dean Wickham, I would say like he was a mentor in a way too, in ways too. He was a really great dean, and also he was dean emeritus those last 2 years, so he still had like a presence over the school. But he's one of the founders of NABJ as well, so just being in his presence was like amazing. But
Yeah.
yeah, there was a lot of great mentors and a lot of great figures and professionals to look up to in school of journalism.
Yeah. So, as you know, your undergraduate career is winding down. I know
Mhm.
you ended up going to grad school, but is that what you knew you wanted to do?
No.
Okay. So tell me,
No.
like, what are you thinking about? How do you end up at NYU?
Yeah, super funny. I did not think I was going to go to grad school. I did not think I was going to end up in New York. Um, but it was something that I was thinking about, but I wasn't 100% sold on it. And I looked into mostly I was looking at American University and University of Maryland because, like I said, I was not ready to leave home. I was not sold on the whole idea. If you had asked, not even 18, honestly, 21-year-old Jordan, like I thought I was going to live in Maryland my whole life. And there's nothing wrong with living in Maryland your whole life. There's nothing wrong with like never leaving your home state. But that's just what I thought I was going to do, like super close to home, be close to my family. Um, that was life. Like I thought that was it. But so yeah, my senior year, I started looking at grad schools more seriously because like I said, a lot of my experience in undergrad at Morgan, like I feel like our majors were split, like multimedia journalism, multi-platform production. A lot of the classes, I feel like in multimedia journalism, like were very print heavy, which at the time was something that I enjoyed and I still enjoy. Like print is always going to be, or like digital story writing is always going to be my number one. But the way that journalism like was headed and is navigating, you have to know how to do everything. And I felt like I wasn't comfortable with like the production skills or like more of communication skills that I could have gotten in undergrad. I wasn't exactly comfortable like going straight into the workforce without a master's. And so that's what I looked for. And let me not say, I do think that I would have been able to like successfully enter the workforce with just my bachelor's, but I felt like if I could have an opportunity to go to grad school and like enhance those skills even more, that was something that I wanted to explore. So I started looking at grad schools. Like I said, I looked at American University of Maryland, NYU, Columbia, and Northwestern. I applied to five grad schools. I don't know why I applied to five grad schools because I applied to five because I wasn't 100% sold on one school and I really wanted to like look at all the opportunities that I could have. But my last three decisions ended up being around, well, I'll really say two based on financial opportunities granted and financial opportunities granted and also just like how much I like the programs ended up coming down to NYU and Northwestern. And I first heard of NYU's program because I'm a former intern. I think you were a Dow Jones Newsfund intern as well. Yes, so like the Slack channel where they send like
Yep,
all the opportunities and everything. So that's where I heard of NYU's NABJ scholarship.
me too.
Yeah. I think you were an ABJ into
Yeah,
scholar,
I
right?
was. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So you get it. You get it. So that's where I saw the scholarship for NABJ and I was a member of NABJ when I was at Morgan. I was vice president for 2 years, social media manager my sophomore year. So I was like very active in NABJ. I went to the convention my going into my senior year. I think that's when I started looking at grad schools like more seriously, like seeing the graduate school options at the convention too. So I was like, okay, like let me take this more seriously. And then a little bit after that was when I heard about the NYU NABJ scholarship. So the NABJ scholarship offered full tuition and a stipend as well. And I was like, okay, like I need to figure out how I can get that scholarship. I wasn't sure how I was going to do it, but that was like a really big goal of mine, something I wanted to get and set for myself. So when I found out that I got the scholarship, I also got a very great scholarship at Northwestern as well. It really came down to like the fit and where I could see myself. And I 100% credit David Dent, the program director of Reporting the Nation at NYU. David Dent, like, that's one of my favorite people in journalism, but also like favorite people in the world. But honestly, like, I credit him so much for just how he has transformed the program at NYU, transformed my outlook on journalism personally, my career. And I credit him a lot just based off of my visit alone, how he made my parents also came with me for my visit because I'd never been to New York before. I wasn't going to New York by myself. And also my parents were like, well, we want to figure out like what would this look like for you too? But David made all of us feel like NYU was going to be home. I would feel at home. I would be able to excel. And as someone who never pictured myself in New York, like it was just something about the way that David made the program feel and made me feel like that was the place for me to succeed was where NYU just made the most sense. So I ended up going there, and honestly, it's one of the greatest decisions that I've made. I think I've really been able to grow as a journalist, made a lot of great relationships, like both with friends, but also professors, and been able to see the growth in my work. Took like some really great writing classes, but also production classes as well, and like video, audio, all of the things. And I've seen the growth like throughout my work too. And I think I have to largely credit that like to NYU's program for sure.
Amazing. It sounds like it supplemented what you were exactly what you felt like you were needing.
Hmm.
That's awesome. Okay, when did you finish NYU?
I finished NYU December of 2024.
Okay, and what happened after that?
So after that, my last semester at NYU, I was also interning at CNN on their national news hub. And my last day of the internship was December 12th, and then our graduation party was December 13th. So like everything kind of like wrapped up at the same time. And I spent the next month just taking a break. Like I was home. I was with family. I was also I wouldn't say I was applying for jobs like every single day during that break, but I definitely like took that month once school ended to like really just take the time, be with my family, take a break. It was my first break really since COVID had happened because ever since ever since August of 2020, I was working for the student newspaper or I had an internship during the summer. So it was like 4 years of constant working, working, school, working, school, working. So I took that month to like really have a break. And then once I got back to New York in January, I was working with David Dent as like a part-time like research assistant for the spring semester while also like applying for jobs. And the whole like job application process, I started applying for jobs, like I started seriously applying for jobs in November of 2024. And I finally landed my job now in April of 2025. So it's like 6 months, that entire process of like applying and waiting, rejections, interviews, all of that. So it was a process. It was a process.
Yeah. So tell me where you ended up.
I ended up at CNN. I'm currently a news associate there. I started back in June. So today is the 8th.
Mhm.
Tomorrow will be 3 months since I've started. So
Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you.
And you're in Atlanta now, right?
Yes.
Okay, how does that feel? You said you could have pictured your whole life in Maryland, then you ended
Hmm.
up in New York, and now you're in Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8-year-old Jordan, her head is spinning. She's like, how are you so far away from home from your parents? And it's crazy. I never thought I'd ended up in Atlanta when my brother came down here to go to Morehouse. I was so like mad. I was like, why Atlanta? Why are you picking somewhere that's so far? But honestly, I like Atlanta. I think it's really cool. I haven't been able to explore as much as I would like to. That's something I definitely want to get more into. Like now that I'm like acquainted with work and everything. But I really like the city. I like the independence of like being on my own, even though I'm really far. I think that's the only thing, like not being able to go home whenever I want to. But like, it's just a plane ride, hour on the plane. Um, but it's been good. I've been liking it so far, and yeah.
Awesome. I want to kind of talk a little more broadly
Hmm.
and reflectively now about like the moment that we're in journalism
Hmm.
and in media. And I'm thinking about um, how you were talking about the spokesman and like how in the beginning those in-person meetings were full and people were active, and then COVID happened and it was like the attendance was cut in half and people were
Yeah.
less engaged. I definitely saw that happen at my college newspaper, but now we're also in a position where I feel like you're seeing that happen in the industry in a bunch of different ways for a bunch of different reasons. And like one
Hmm.
of those is just like kind of the devaluing of news and of the kind of journalism that uh we're taught is fair, accurate, balanced, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
How do you think about your role amidst all of that and what keeps you dedicated and showing up?
Well, what keeps me dedicated is knowing that the type of work that like both of us produce, the work that you're doing, the work that I do, and a lot of like colleagues that we have is so needed in the world. Like without the stories and without the work that we produce, I don't know where things would be. Like I don't know where we would be. All of the misinformation that like we do already have to combat now, I think without the work that we do, it'd be like times 100. It'd be so much worse. But I think what keeps me dedicated is knowing that like the work that I do and the work that I would like to do in the future, like there's a place for it. There will always be a place for it. And I'm sorry, you said my role in like the state of journalism right now, or hmm, hmm. I think my role right now is continuing to produce like fact-based work. Mostly like what I want to be able to do is like tell people's stories individually, like written profiles. And I think that telling stories that make people feel impacted, it might be about like one individual person, but you can see their story in yourself too, is work that I want to produce like long term. And I think the role that I have in journalism right now is to just keep going. I think it can be very discouraging, especially like in the process that I was in trying to find a job. Like there might feel like there's not a place for you or there's not a place for you to produce the work that you want to do. But I think just like continuing to push and knowing that you're gonna find the right spot for you to be able to like contribute. Um, I think it's the best role to do.
Do you do any independent work?
Yeah, so I actually just recently started my own like show. I just started a show called The Rundown with Jordan Brown, where I will be airing like video interviews with professionals in arts, media, and I'm hoping to get some athletes as well in there. I haven't gotten that yet, but we'll see. But yes, so that show I will be doing video interviews while also like maintaining a weekly newsletter on Substack where I just give like a rundown of the news of the week, keeping people informed, and also sharing feature stories, profiles, things to look ahead of for the next week, and all things.
Awesome. Okay. So we're here obviously like for the HBCU Radio Preservation Project, and the goal
Hmm.
of this is to document and preserve the history of Black college radio stations. Talk to me about why HBCU radio is important in the landscape that we're in right now.
Yeah, I think that HBCU radio is super important right now because I think HBCUs have like the ability to tell stories from a unique angle because of like the storied history that comes with HBCUs. When I think of Morgan and I think of WEAA, I feel like I think of the protests that happened back in 1990 where people were protesting for better conditions on campus. They marched all the way from our campus at Morgan to Annapolis, which would be about an hour and a half drive, I think, and they marched all of that way, like in protest. And I think that every year, like every anniversary that comes, there's always a unique way for WEAA to tell that story. And what better outlet to be able to tell that story than the one that was there when that event happened, like right there on their campus in their backyard. So I think HBCU radio is super important, not just at Morgan, but all HBCUs with public radio stations, because they're able to tell the stories of what's going on right now in the country from the HBCU angle, and like having the experience and expertise that they have and the talent at HBCU radio stations as well.
Yeah, I feel like we see that with a lot of the stations about their like there's something about being able to control your own narrative
Hmm.
and um yeah, report from a place of authority because we understand that like the dominant narrative is often not reflective of what's happening in Black communities.
Hmm.
And I also think that there's a tendency to kind of flatten the African American experience or the HBCU experience. Because while there
Hmm.
are things that connect them, these are all different institutions in very different parts of the country. And so I'm wondering if you could reflect on what like makes Morgan special to you. What makes
Hmm.
it stand out now? You're in Atlanta, you've, you know, have family that comes from other HBCUs. You were at NYU. Yeah, like what makes Morgan Morgan?
Hmm. I think I think what makes Morgan Morgan to me, I think the best word for Morgan is growth. Just how much I've seen Morgan grow since my freshman year in 2019 to where it is now. Actually, there's a picture of my oldest sister of when she toured Morgan's campus back in like 2007, and she has like this mean mug on her face. Like she did not want to go to Morgan. I don't know why she didn't want to go that bad, but like just the mug on her face, like she was so irritated. She was going to Virginia State. Like that was always going to be where she was going to end up. But I look in the background of that picture and it's like the campus, and that was just 10 years before I got there. And the campus, like obviously it's Morgan, but it's not the Morgan that I knew. And then if I go on Morgan's campus now, that's not the Morgan that I knew, you know? So just seeing how much it has grown every single year, I think since my junior year for sure, we've seen like record enrollment for the incoming freshman class for the past 4 years. And on top of that, we have seen just the overall student enrollment grow. We're past 10,000 students now. Our president now, President David Wilson, that was his goal for the year 2030. We hit it in 2023. So just seeing like how much Morgan has grown, continue to grow, hoping to reach R1 status, building a medical school. It's just amazing to see. And I think that that is what makes Morgan Morgan to me, just knowing like how much the school has, like the growth that we've continued to see each and every year. And also knowing that like the products that are coming out of Morgan like are fantastic in the journalism school, the architecture school, nursing school. So just a lot of great products coming out of Morgan, and just I think the best word to describe it would be growth.
And how do you continue to stay connected to the campus?
So I said also, I always try to keep in touch with like the current journalism students at Morgan. I'm only 2 years out now. So like rising 3 years because my senior year was 3 years ago. The freshmen that were the ones that were freshmen my senior year are seniors now, which is crazy. But I try to keep in touch with the students that were there when I was there, but also students that like I didn't like coincide with at Morgan at the same time. So like might have came in after I left. Literally the other day, I just saw a Morgan student who's interning at the Baltimore Sun, and I interned there a few years ago. So I just reached out to her, like, congratulations, glad to see like SCJC is still producing great students. So I just try to like keep up with them in that way. and just like encouraging them to keep going because I know like I was in their shoes at one point and kind of like what helped me being able to see where I could go was the alumni from the journalism school, like staying in touch and reaching out. And that's one thing I will say about SGJC. We have great alumni and they're always great about like keeping in touch with the current students. So I think that that's really important. I missed NABJ this year and I was super sad, but I'm definitely going next year because it's going to be in Atlanta. Super happy about that. But the last 3 years before this one, I went to NABJ and like it was different when I was a student at Morgan, but then when I went in 2024, I was still like going to like Morgan related stuff and connecting with the Morgan people somehow. So yeah.
Awesome. I didn't know you were a Baltimore Sun intern also.
Yeah. Were you at the Sun?
Cool. Yeah, I was in
When?
summer of 2021.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was
Yeah.
there in 23.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, cool.
Yeah, cool.
That's so
Wait, so were
funny.
you there? Were you there with Oyen? Or I
Yeah.
think Oyen,
Or
really? Oyen was there. I think she was there 2019.
20
I'm sorry.
I I know that I met her
Hmm. Oyen's
before, but
great too.
yeah, but like it was like a COVID time thing, and so I only
Yeah.
saw the other interns once in person.
Oh,
So I
okay.
could
Yeah.
have, and we just didn't like
Yeah.
actually get to know each other.
Now that
But
I think about it, I think Oyen was at the Sun in 2019 because she graduated. Yeah, you know what? I'm wrong because she graduated 2021 and then she was at the Chronicle.
okay.
Yeah.
When were
So
you a Dow Jones intern? 2020.
2021. Yeah, I was at Patch in 2021 and
Oh,
that was
okay.
remote. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Okay. Did you still do like the training thing?
Yeah, but it was all remote.
Okay.
So we didn't meet like in person or anything. I think were you in digital media?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you guys went to Phoenix.
Yeah, ASU.
Yeah, yeah,
That was
yeah.
2022.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
And you were with Tamia, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Um, okay. What's your proudest career accomplishment so far?
I would definitely say winning the Student Journalist of the Year award at NABJ in 2023. I think I would say that. And then that same year, I got invited to the White House for their HBCU student press briefing with Keisha Lance Bottoms and Kamala Harris. That was really cool.
How are you feeling about yourself in those moments?
Um, the White House, I couldn't believe that. I think the same thing, like how I set my move-in day, like I couldn't believe it was real. Same thing for both the White House. When I got the email about going to the White House, I was like, me? Like, is this the right email address? But no, that was super cool. It was super cool to be able to represent Morgan State like that, also being able to connect with a bunch of other HBCU student journalists. Like two of them I still keep in touch with to this day. Chloe, I actually like answered a lot of her questions when she was thinking about grad school too. She ended up going to NYU, the same program as me.
Yeah, I saw
So
her at NABJ
oh
recently too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Chloe's great. Chloe's amazing. Norfolk State alum. So kept in touch with her. Also kept in touch with Morgan Ross. She just graduated from Hampton and she's going to Northwestern for grad school too. She's amazing. So yeah, being in that room with a bunch of other like HBCU student journalists was awesome to just be in that atmosphere and also having that exposure to a press briefing at the White House, just like having that opportunity. You never know like when you'll be able to do that again or like how many people can say that they did that. So that was really an honor to be a part of that. And the Student Journalism Award at NABJ, I was just blown away by that one because I had no idea that my work was being recognized by like I knew that my work was obviously being consumed at Morgan because like a lot of work I was producing was for Morgan students, but to be recognized like on a national level like that, I'd never never imagined something like that for myself. So that was really honor to accept.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so outside of news and journalism and media, tell me, what does your life look like? What are the other kinds of things that you're interested in?
So I'm still really big on basketball. You know, I hung up the shoes a long time ago, but I'm a really big basketball fan still. I love Asia Wilson, everything about her. She's a great player. I think she's like the best player, like still actively playing right now in the WNBA. But yeah, I started after I stopped playing basketball, I kind of like took a break from all things. Like outside of taking pictures from it, I took a break from like regularly keeping up with it and consuming it. So I wasn't really watching the WNBA or college basketball until I then got to college because there were a lot of people that I either went to school with or I played with that were playing collegiately at that point. So I wanted to like keep up with like what they were doing and just like follow their careers in that way. That was kind of how I got back into watching college basketball and then seeing those players play professionally, how I got back into the WNBA. So yeah, I think basketball is definitely like watching women's basketball, definitely like my I would say my biggest hobby right now. Outside of that, I love reality TV. Uh, what's it called? Love Island consumed my entire summer. Not in like an unhealthy way, like the stands and stuff on Twitter. Like I wasn't that far gone, but I was definitely glued to my TV every night. Um, I would get off of work at 10, and like as soon as I get off work, come home, like call my parents. After I was done talking to them, I was turning on Love Island. Like it was bad. It was bad.
Oh, I was there too. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, that show had a hold on us this summer. But yeah, I would say women's basketball, reality TV. I don't know if you've heard of this soap opera Beyond the Gates that just came out recently. I've been
I
tuned into
haven't.
that,
People keep telling me to watch it.
and
Like,
you should.
okay.
And you should. It is crazy. And like it's funny every time I tell someone I'm watching this soap opera, like, Jordan, how old are you? But like at the same time, my mom had me when she was 38. And when I was born, my grandmother was 65. So like I've always kind of like grown up around like older people, older influence. So, and I basically like lived at my grandmother's house, right? So what was I doing every day? Watching the soap operas with
Watching the
her.
stories. Yep.
Yeah, like watching her stories, like Young and the Restless, Bold and the Beautiful, like all the things. And so I feel like it's natural for me to watch Beyond the Gates because I just feel like I'm watching my stories with her. But this Beyond the Gates is like 10 times what Young and the Restless could be, in my opinion. It's that good. It's that good.
The one that I was really obsessed with, I actually like rewatched it recently.
Hmm.
Greenleaf. Did you ever get
Oh,
into?
Greenleaf. Okay. I wasn't like sat for it the way that my mom was. I would watch it in the background, like when she had it on. But I need a show to watch right now, and I might go back to watch that one because
Hey,
Charity was a mess.
they're all a mess. And it, yeah,
I think Greenleaf and Queen Sugar.
yes.
Those were on at the same time, and my mom was glued to the TV. And me and my brother would be like fake annoyed, like, "Oh, she's watching Queen Sugar again." But I was kind of tuned in. I had to act like I wasn't, but
You're like in
Queen
the
Sugar
back,
was pretty good.
like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Queen Sugar was pretty good too.
okay, cool.
Hmm.
Um, those are almost all the questions I have for you. I do want to ask though, because you talk about reaching back out to students that are current students at Morgan and
Hmm.
talking to people about going to grad school, and you've done a lot so far. What are like the main like words of advice that you give to other young journalists?
Um, I think the best advice I could probably give is to just go for it. Like, go for every opportunity that you can. Um, go for every opportunity that you can, but also know when to say no and like things are too much. Because I think that's something that I definitely did. I was saying too much. I was saying yes to everything and like doing too much to a point where like I wasn't really doing. like everything was just kind of consumed with journalism and with my work. And I wasn't really focusing on life outside of that at a point. And I finally like took until my senior year really to the point where I could really say no. And like one of my professors, Wayne Dawkins, I would say he was a mentor to me too. I took his class 3 times. But he's at Hampton University now. He was at Morgan the whole time I was there. And it was our Dean's List ceremony. Um, it was our Dean's List ceremony senior year. And he was like introducing me because he was our interim department chair. He was like, Jordan, she never says no to an opportunity, but she finally had to tell me no, like for this one assignment. I was a little taken aback, but we can't work her too hard. And that was for me. I was like, yeah, I gotta practice saying no because I do always end up taking on a lot of things. But my best advice would definitely be like, just throw yourself out there. You're gonna like mess up, you're gonna make mistakes, but you only get better with time and like get better with being consistent and just putting your best foot forth every time. I feel like as long as you know that like you did your best with every assignment that you get, that's the best that you can do. So just put yourself out there, be consistent, and don't overwork yourself.
Yeah, sometimes you have to sit down and watch Love Island.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome, thank you. Before we wrap up, is there anything I didn't ask you about, either about Morgan and WEAA or just about yourself and your journey that you think is important to share?
No, I think you covered everything. I think you covered all the bases, like as to what Morgan was like, WEAA, and me. So I really appreciate you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jordan.
Thank you.